young people, because some young people are women, and of course that includes them. Now, even in the exclusion of that, young or women are the people that more often than not take care of these young people. More often than not, you realize that it is the women that kind of care even for the young people more. Young people are even closer to the women, and that is why if the women are empowered, if the women are given the skill, the knowledge, it will kind of trickle down to the young people, and eventually the young people will benefit. And that is why empowering women, indeed is in the same line. If you empower women, I am convinced that you indirectly empowering young people.
It's the women who are the custodians of our culture, our life, the way we live in our communities. So there is no way that we can take tourism to the communities without involving the women. They are the basic. They are the custodians of our youth. They are the custodians of our culture, our history, our traditions. They are the ones that actually pass it from one generation to another.
Let's just allow our children to be whatever they want to be. Really, that's what I feel. But sometimes also this caste system affects us. Yes, say you cannot be this, or otherwise you'll be a blacksmith, or you cannot be that, otherwise you'll be a leather worker. I mean, industry is all about leather and iron and so on. No, that's the reality. So we have to look at our socio-cultural setup as well, and encourage our young people to take on these opportunities that the government has to offer.
It has a lot of potential, and what we are calling for now is for partners who are involved in poverty reduction to see the importance of strengthening the youth sector and arming them with livelihoods to build a nation.
The parameters for a successful GAM jobs intervention would be, for instance, somebody we've trained, we want to see that person qualify from that training program and then get established in that field of activity that he's been trained in, and of course start to work in that field, getting his livelihoods from it, whether it's under a scheme, whether he's self-employed or whether he's employed. But the basic thing is for him to be active and of course work to provide for himself, his family, and lead a better life, and of course contribute to national development.
GAM jobs, as we stand, it's coming to an end in 2011. But even though the government of the Gambia contributed $100,000 by the time it was equivalent to $2.8 million, and the UNDP in Banjul also contributed over the program period of $500,000 over the program period. We were lucky to also have our friend, the Spanish government, to contribute $2.8 million into the program. Overall, what we mobilized was not sufficient to cover all the programs envisaged at the inception of the program. Initially, of course, we had a gap, funding gap, when we started, and we continue to pursue other avenues to mobilize more resources. We were only able to attract funding from, secure funding, from the Spanish authorities. That is the $2.8 million.
So I would expect multilateral agencies such as the World Bank, the IMF, and all the other international agencies, the ADB, a host of them, the IDB. We have all this, I mean, even the UN system in other areas, such as UNIDO and so on, to come on board and complement the efforts of GAM jobs and help us move our development forward.
The Spanish have been giving a lot of funds into this. We hope that other institutions, the ILO, the UNDP, in as much as these are institutions that have always been the bedrock of GAM jobs, but they also upload and increase the resource mobilization and resource intervention for GAM jobs. This will become critical for after post-2011 GAM jobs.
When the youth succeed, it's us who've succeeded, and it is the Gambia that has succeeded because we will be eliminating poverty and we will be empowering these young men and women to stand on their 2 feet, not to be spoon-fed and not to wait for people to do things for them. They need to take their destiny in their hands, and this is what we're expecting and we hope to achieve.
The most important natural resources we have that is indispensable for our socio-economic development. Unfortunately, we are not maximizing the utilization of the river for our socio-economic development. The River Gambia is a gold mine.
Bright morning sun is beaming over the city of Banjul. As travelers set on their perennial journey across the River Gambia to the coastal town of Barra. It is a 30-minute journey that many embark on every day, but beyond the two coastal settlements, domestic trade and business are vibrant thanks to the River Gambia, which has been an important source of transportation for people, goods and services. On a daily basis, ferries and locally made canoes ply the various river routes, carrying people on different missions, but the majority are traders transporting merchandise to inland or coastal settlements with sizable populations. The river extends some 700 miles through the entire length of a country bearing the same name. It has its source from the Fouta Djallon Highlands, flowing through Senegal before intersecting with the Atlantic Ocean at Banjul. The River Gambia provides access to some settlements in Senegal and Guinea, with nearly 70% of its surrounding land lying less than 100 meters above sea level.
You can also realize that the river is very important because you would have to cross the River Gambia from either the southern bank or the northern bank if you want to travel from one bank of the Gambia to the other. And we are envisaging to have a bridge across Yulitenda, Bamatenda that would enable free flow of goods and services from the north and the southern bank and from the Gambia to our neighboring country. River Gambia is flowing, that nature is flowing, River Gambia is a fly.
The river has both an estuarine and freshwater ecology, defining its surrounding vegetation pattern.
During the dry season, because of the slow flow, you have salt water coming from the Atlantic moving towards Kuntawur. So because of this constraint for agricultural production, we cannot rely on pump irrigation for agriculture because every 100 cubic meters or every cubic meters of fresh water that you pump from the river would attract salt water towards the upper end of the river, that is the eastern part.
Saltwater intrusion affects some peripheral environments, especially in the dry season. Whilst in certain areas, the riverside is dominated by swamps and mangroves. Where the water is fresh, the banks are lined with gallery forests.